Exclamation, everybody, and welcome back to Cube Ramblings. For me, it is Saturday night, December the 19th, 2015, almost December 20th right now. We're about 7 minutes away from it. So, late as usual in my recording here. We're just rolling along. My last live stream, I did some more Paragon. I've got all the things confused now. Paladins. Paragon's another one I'm actually looking at if I can get into the alpha, which I haven't done yet. But Paladins, which just came out with its latest patch, patch number 10. Lots of rejiggering, and the first patch that is really exercising the constructed decks stuff. And so far so good. I'm enjoying myself quite a bit with that game. I'm playing a hell of a lot of it, so I should be enjoying myself. Didn't win too many times though. I think I only got 1 or 2 victories in that long live stream, that about 2 hours or so. But actually, I didn't know if YouTube was actually recording it, but it did record it, even though it didn't show up properly. So you can catch it out there on the Memory Leak Doom channel if you want to see what the live stream looked like and how I did and how I didn't do. Still enjoying that game a lot. I have about 9 invites that I can give out to people who wish to have them. Although the caveat is I have to use the Hi-Res Studios website to do it, and so I need email addresses in order to send those out. So if you'd like to have an invite into the closed beta for Paladins, you can either leave a comment here on this video, or more than likely, probably a better, quicker solution is to tweet me a direct message, more than likely. Direct message to me, to my Twitter, at MemoryLeakDeath, with your email address. That's why I'm saying do a direct message, because I don't want your email address to go out to everybody and their grandmother. I promise to forget it, your email address, after entering it into the site and just saying send invite, and that's that. But unfortunately, they do require that piece. So like I said, I have 9 of those. So if you'd like that, I have already tweeted out about this yesterday, but did not get too much of a response at all. I've got a couple keys I wish to give out, a couple for Fractured Space, one of which is taken. There's 2 left, and which is a space MOBA-ish game. And then I also have some humble keys, or humble links, I should say, that I need to dig up. I believe I have a gift copy of Deus Ex Human Revolution Director's Cut that I might tweet out about soonish. So, moral of the story is, you probably should just keep an eye on my Twitter, even if you don't want to follow, or if you just want to follow just long enough to get a key and then unfollow, whatever. I am not picky, but that's I am trying to give out a few things here and there between now and the holiday, Christmas, which is this week. I don't know, this year has gone quite quickly when you think back on it, but it's been a relatively good year. There's been some interesting things that happened this month that have been kind of a Debbie Downer for me personally, but getting through it, there is light at the end of that tunnel. December is always kind of a weird month for me anyway. There's a lot going on. There's all the stress of the holiday season, trying to get everything together. And then I put even more stress on myself because I was like, I need to get a new computer. It's got to happen now. And so I did. And so that is together now. And actually, I just finished installing Windows and everything on it. So it is almost ready to go. It's downloading Just Cause 3 and other things now. So this is my brand new computer. It's got a GTX 980 in it, which I was playing Witcher 3 on it, and I tried to crank everything up to Ultra, and it still wouldn't work. Well, it would work, but I wasn't getting 60 FPS while recording, which is just a third world or first world YouTuber problem more than anything else. But I was getting it without recording, so I can't complain too much. But I do have it. I have scaled it down a little bit here and there, enough to be able to get 60 FPS, relatively speaking, recording on that. So I'll be picking up my recordings of Witcher 3 soonish. This is also kind of it's been a weird Saturday where not only was I doing that, but I had to do some running around the family and all that stuff. And I had no videos ready to go at all. I have some footage I could have rendered out, but I wasn't entirely satisfied with it, so I didn't want to put it out there. So this is actually going to be the first day, Saturday here, that I have missed putting some kind of video up, I think, in the entire year, if not a little bit more than that. So it's a bit of it's you know, symptomatic of me being just behind on all the things. That hard drive, partial hard drive failure that I had a few weeks ago on my main computer was it was fortuitous in that I already had another computer in pieces that I could put together, but it was also bad in that it broke my routine, and I am very much a creature of routine. Everything I do has some sort of routine behind it, even down to leaving my car keys in the same spot all the time. I mean, literally, given how infrequently I actually dust and clean around the house, you can actually see the area on the bureau where I leave my wallet, my keys, and everything else. They're always literally in the same spot because that's the only spot that is not has not collected dust. So that's how I wouldn't say OCD, but that's how particular I am about putting things back in the same spots again, because I know for my own benefit that I have a bad memory, and I'll never remember where I put things and have to go searching high and low for them. So I always put them back in the same spots, much to the chagrin of others, I think, sometimes. Also, it's a kind of a reverse problem too, where if I leave something in a spot for too long, you know, like, hey, I'm gonna go, you know, I need to find a spot for this. This is not where I want this to be. This is just a temporary area. I'm just gonna put it here, and then put it away later after I've done something else. If that thing stays there for too long, that becomes the permanent spot of that thing for several months, because I end up getting used to it being there, and I'm like, oh, I'll procrastinate then and try to find another time to do it. So yeah, that is the way that works. Getting a lot of information about me here that doesn't necessarily have to do with games, or maybe it does. Maybe games underlie all of this. Maybe life. Maybe life is a game, and we're all losers, or at least we haven't achieved the high score yet, but perhaps we will at some point. Anywho, now that I've lost everybody, now that I've gone off on a tangent, I do have some bits of information, some bits of news here. There's been no new updates for Homeworld, unfortunately. I've not seen any come around, so I have nothing in regards to that. But there was a few news items here. We'll start out with Star Citizen. The Alpha 2.0 version has just come out this week. I downloaded it. Since I have two actually very good video cards now on both of my systems, I thought perhaps I would catch up to speed on it again and see if it was anything other than a slideshow. I have managed to download it, but I have not actually fired it up yet. It takes quite a while to download it. It's not a small potato right now. From what I understand, it's a lot more together than we've ever seen, which is good. That means they're making forward progress. It's not like a glorified tech demo anymore. It's actually got a little bit of signs of cohesion to it. However, it does, even on the best of rigs, does run like a slideshow right now. Very, very low FPS. And there's not a whole lot to do yet, which is kind of, I mean, I wouldn't expect too much, because it's still early and still alpha and all that stuff. But on the heels of that, they've hit Robert Space Industries, Cloud Imperium Games, whatever you want to call them. They've hit $100 million mark on the crowdfunding. Undoubtedly, many people have jumped into the Alpha 2.0 and realized that the ships that they had bought were kind of crappy and slow. I imagine I'm going to find out the same thing, and have started buying new ships to fly around and tool around in. I don't know that I'm going to ever do that. I think I want to play the game through and try to do it through the in-game economy whenever that happens, but I can't negate the fact that I might end up throwing more money at Star Citizen. Who knows at this point? I have not played any of it, really. I mean, I played the hangar module a little bit, if you can call it playing it, which is just kind of walking around in it at a very low frame rate. And I tried to do the Vandal Swarms thing, but it was not really working out so well. There was something up with the joystick. I just couldn't get it to, I couldn't get it to feel right, and I was like, screw this, I got other things to do right now. So, beyond that, I'm hoping that I get a little bit better shot at it this time around. So we shall see. Gonna look at that. Another one that kind of I hadn't heard anything about, and I just saw some footage on it and an article in Destructoid on it. Homeworld, Deserts of Kharak. So I have the Homeworld Remastered Collection, and I actually promised many moons ago that I would play through it, and I still intend on playing through it. I just feel like I have far too many RTS things going on right now on the channel, and I'm actually planning on having another RTS come on. Well, maybe not real-time strategy, a turn-based strategy, TTS. I don't know if they have the same the same acronyms for that, but there's a couple that I want to do, but I also want to keep some kind of variety on the channel. I was trying to actually get No One Lives Forever to work. I had it working before on this computer, and now it refuses to work again. And I don't know why. I don't know how it worked before, and now it doesn't work. I don't know what's going on, why that's the case, but it's not. The launcher won't launch for some reason. I got all the installs worked, like the patched installs for 64-bit Windows and all that stuff. They all worked, but getting the launcher to actually start up for some reason, it has decided that it has better things to do than to than to allow for my whims. So if I can get that working, then that will be something that will be on the channel soonish. But I'm not. I might have to punt on that and pick another game, of which there are many. I intend on at some point playing through all the things. That will probably never happen, but it's a goal nonetheless. So having played Homeworld, I loved Homeworld itself. I love that game. Never got the chance to play Homeworld 2, but I do have Homeworld Remastered, which has Homeworld and Homeworld 2 in it. Would like to play that at some point. Homeworld Deserts of Kharak is a prequel to the Homeworld game. So it takes place on Kharak in the deserts, as you might imagine. It's all ground-based. Looking at the trailer for it, it looks pretty decent as sort of a top-down, strategy game. It does remove some of that three-dimensionality that you get in the normal Homeworld game, but not too upset about that. Although it did look like you had some flying units too, so I guess there's kind of like a 2.5D-ish thing there. It's more like StarCraft than it is Homeworld, honestly. Although it's still got all the same aesthetics and the map and all that stuff. And it's made by, several of the team members who worked on Homeworld and Homeworld 2. So it's definitely got the right pedigree on its shoulders. And the thing I liked about the original Homeworld is the story. The story was really good in that. I don't know how the story was in Homeworld 2. I don't know how that held up. Or what was the other one? Homeworld Cataclysm, was it? I don't remember. There was another expansion thing out there that I don't remember the name of, that's not part of the Homeworld Remastered collection because they don't own the rights to it. They couldn't get the rights to it. There's that too. I don't know if the story was any good in those, but I know it was great in the first one, and I was always kind of hoping and wondering what it was like in a sort of prequel-esque manner. Now that they are calling it a prequel, I'm wondering though exactly how much, because there's some fighting going on there, and I was under the impression from the story of Homeworld that all the citizens on Kharak were pretty much on board with the program. I don't remember there being any splintering factions and stuff. That doesn't mean that there couldn't be. It just means that I always got the impression that it was a unified people, right? At least relatively unified. And this seems to, since this being a prequel, it seems to throw doubt on that. Unless, there's a bit of a bump at the end of the trailer where it seems like it's the Taidan flying through the atmosphere, going, "Hey, we hate that you guys are out in space now because you're going to get the itch and want to leave, and we want to keep you here." So I don't know if that comes at the end of the game. I feel like there's. I'm going to spoil Homeworld a little bit, at least the beginning of it, the first hour of it, right now. So if you've never played it and you intend on playing it, I apologize. But this is the only way I can think to explain what I'm trying to get at here. In the very beginning of the game, you have the mothership, and you go out on a test run. And it's the first hyperjump test. What are they called? The Kaizens? Karzens? I forget what they call themselves. But it's the first test that they've conducted, and it's successful. You jump away, and then you turn around, you jump back afterwards. When you jump back to Kharak, it's burning, right? It's been orbital bombarded. It's just in ruins. And it's all within the space of a few minutes. Now, the assumption is it's all in the space of a few minutes. Now, I'm wondering, it would be kind of interesting if this game was more of a, we are going to fight off the Taidan invasion, and go through that whole invasion, instead of it being like an instant thing like it was in Homeworld, where it just kind of just happened. You're shocked, you come back, you see the world burning, and you're like, what the hell? What's going on here? And you immediately jump into trying to protect the cryostasis things. Sorry, I heard a noise there. I was wondering what was going on. The cryostasis pods, and trying to at least get the remains of your civilization and just pick them up and just run and run back to your homeworld, namely the name of the game. And I kind of wish that was, I mean, it feels like it's only a space of a few minutes, but I kind of wish it was more like several weeks had happened. You know, like, hey, you know, we'd had this hyper jump test, and then we kind of got out there for a little bit, and then when we came back, it was maybe a week later, and then the world is burning. Because I would like, honestly, as a fan of the lore, I would like Homeworld, this prequel, to be, here's us fighting off the Taidan, but it doesn't look like that's the case, unless that happens right at the very end. Even though obviously they lose, they don't fight them off successfully, it would still be kind of interesting narratively to go through that. But it looks like it might end there. I don't know, possibly, but it looks like at least in the beginning you're starting out even before that, before the hyperdrive has been discovered, or just as it's discovered, or whatever the case may be. So yeah, you can actually pre-order Homeworld Deserts of Kharak. I just went on Steam and pre-ordered it. It's like $40 because it's 20% off right now, I think. And if you pre-order it right now and you don't have Homeworld remastered, then you get Homeworld remastered for free. So although since I already owned it, it's like Steam's like, yeah, you know what, you already own this, so we can't give this to you for free, so sorry, but that's okay. I got the 20% off, so I am cool with that, and it's just still it seems like a interesting game that I want to play. So I didn't even know this was being made. This was totally under the radar for me. So I'll leave you a link to the Destructoid article where it has an embedded video on it. You can go watch that and see if it's to your liking. So we have speaking of videos that are interesting to look at, there's a game. I'll leave you a link to Kotaku so you can watch this video. There's a game being developed, a little indie game. It hasn't been released yet. It's still being developed. It's called Clustertruck. And I'm not usually one to get all hot and bothered over endless runner-like things. But this one looks like it'll be a heck of a lot of fun. Basically, you're running and jumping between trucks that are randomly, tractor-trailer trucks that are randomly spawning in the world and doing all kinds of crazy stuff and flying up into the atmosphere and falling back down and just trying to stay afloat on all those tractor trailers or all those trucks and keep moving forward. There's laser beams you gotta jump through and all that kind of stuff. It looks like it'll be, I mean, obviously it's kind of an endless runner thing, it looks like, but it also looks like it would be a heck of a lot of fun if you're just you just want to kill some time and just play something. It looks like it just be pretty zany. So I wanted to point that out because I think it's one of those things that it'll probably get missed by a lot of people until a YouTuber, probably one of the more popular ones, ends up playing the game, and then suddenly it'll be an explosion of people like, hey, that's a lot of fun. So you could say that I keyed you in onto it a little bit early, although technically I'm just reading what was already posted on Kotaku and stealing credit for that. Unintentionally, but there you go. But yeah, Clustertruck looks like something that would be relatively interesting as a little fun, casual time waster thing. And there's another franchise that I've never touched upon. Sometimes there's these games that you don't hear too much about, and then all of a sudden you see a video and you're like, man, why have I never played any of this series? And you're like, well, I guess the series never really stood out enough. You know, the name wasn't something that actually caught me too much. And I'm talking about Mafia 3 here. Apparently Mafia 2 was a really good game. I remember vaguely hearing things about it, but never really getting into it, because it was one of those things that it's kind of like GTA for me, right? I played a little bit of GTA 3. GTA 3, was that possibly? I hope it was 3. I think it was 3. I played a little bit of that, and it was fun. But then it got very, I don't know, it got very repetitive for me, and I just decided, it's not my thing, the semi-open world thing. And I didn't really go back to that. I mean, I still played a little bit of semi-open world stuff, but it was mostly, you know, RPG stuff and not really the gangster life things. And it wasn't until Saints Row the Third that I sort of, I got rekindled with the whole atmosphere that's GTA like atmosphere that's put around there. That said, I haven't never played GTA 4 or 5 and don't really have any intention to do so, because I feel like GTA is just not, it's just not my cup of tea per se. And I guess I kind of felt Mafia was the same way too, like Mafia 2, because it was sort of the open worldish thing, kind of, with a little, that was, to me, struck me as a lot of GTA stuff, and I was like, I don't really like the one, so I don't know that I like the other one. But now I'm looking at Mafia 3, and I'm like, you know what? I was just watching the video of it, embedded, and I was like, this isn't actually that bad. This is not really that much different from other things that I've played. You know, it's a third-person, open-world shooter, basically. It's not unlike, you know, a Deus Ex Human Revolution kind of thing, although without the RPG mechanics, you know. It's not unlike a Watch Dogs, honestly, which, speaking of Watch Dogs, I've been tempted to reinstall that and try to record again to see if I could get better frame rates and stuff, and turn the multiplayer off, because I figure by now all those hackers in the multiplayer will probably have had their fill and have moved on. And maybe I can actually play the game without being interrupted all the time. But we'll see on that one. But anyway, back to what I was talking about. Mafia 3, it looks pretty interesting. It actually, it's got me thinking like, hey, you know, maybe this is my in. Maybe this is the time that I should immerse myself in this series, even though I'm way late with it. You know, I felt the same way with Fallout 4, right? I haven't played any of the other Fallout games. And all the other Fallout games were interesting in their own rights, but not interesting enough for me to sit down and play them. Or at least they just didn't have what I really wanted, I guess. And I looked at Fallout 4 and was like, oh, okay, now you're kind of getting somewhere where I want to be. And I've been enjoying that. I need to get back into it again, but I've been enjoying that quite a bit. So, you know, maybe, I don't know. I guess I'm one of those guys that's like, I don't necessarily need to play the first couple of games in a series just to get into it, you know? There's some people are like, you know, you should go back and play the first couple games, and, you know, you're not a true fan of this series unless you've played every game. I was like, yeah, you know, there's a moderate, you know, moderate level of truth to that. You know, I might not be a true fan of the Fallout series or a true fan of the Mafia series, but I feel like I already struggle for time as it is to play things, and if I guess I'm kind of approaching games the way that I approach books, right? I'm that guy that goes for a bookstore and pulls a book off the shelf that looks interesting, reads the last chapter of it, And if the last chapter is halfway decent and keeps me interested and it ends on a good note, then I'll go buy the book. If it doesn't, then it goes right back on the shelf again. That's the kind of guy I am. So for me, jumping in to the third game in a series and then liking that does not preclude me then from going back and playing the other portions of the series. In fact, a lot of times that's how I do it. You know, I'll play something, you know, like the third episode of something, and then go back and go, hey, you know what? This is actually not so bad. Let me go see what the older versions of this were. And so I don't know. I something about this, you know, after looking at the video and reading some of the text on it, I mean, there's a lot of shooting in it and stuff, but there are some decisions that you can make along the way. And I don't know, I guess it kind of reminds me a little bit of Max Payne as well, like Max Payne 1-ish, sort of, with just some of the looks in there, or one of the Uncharted games, although I've never played either of those, you know, either Uncharted or the Max Payne stuff, but I've watched videos of them, and the video kind of reminds me a little bit of those too, as I look at it here, as I watch it, as I talk to you guys. So I don't know. I think it's I'm intrigued. I don't know if I'm intrigued enough to buy it, but I'm intrigued enough to keep an eye on it. And of course, if any of you are fans of the Mafia series, well, hey, you've got another game in that series coming out sometime in 2016. Not quite sure when yet, but I'll leave you a link to the article, and you can go watch the video for yourself. They sit down with the one of the heads and talk about the game while B-reel footage is playing in the background, so you can get to look at have all the senses engaged. For Xbox One, the backwards compatibility stuff, 16 additional titles have been added to the list for this holiday season. So if you are the owner or proud owner of Braid, Deus Ex Human Revolution, Doritos Crash Course, Fable 3, Halo Reach, Hydro Thunder, Iron Brigade, Kane and Lynch 2, Motocross Madness, Ms. Pac-Man, Peggle, Portal, Still Alive, Spelunky, Explosion Man, Ticket to Ride, or Zuma's Revenge, you can now play those games on your Xbox One. The other interesting, I guess, side note to having this backwards compatibility is that it's entirely possible. I don't know if this actually works out or not, but it's entirely possible that you could maybe buy some of these games cheaper by buying the 360 version instead of the Xbox One, if they have an Xbox One version, and then just using that. So perhaps if you're penny pinching or you're a patient gamer and you're looking for sales, maybe it makes sense to buy the 360 version. I don't know. I have this sinking feeling that it'd be like that Microsoft, as they start to release these backwards compatibility lists, that suddenly those games cost about the same as their Xbox One counterparts, if they have Xbox One counterparts, I suspect. But you never know. You never know. You might end up saving yourself some money, although you are going to be playing it at the lower resolution of the 360, even though you're on the Xbox One and maybe not getting the same quality out of it. So you do have to kind of measure based on not only price but also on performance of it, I suppose. But out of the list, Deus Ex Human Revolution, really good. I played that on the channel, liked the heck out of that. That's about 30 to 60 hours, depending on how much you do and how many side quests you do on that. I'm pretty sure it was. I felt like it was. I had like 40 episodes or something like that when I was done. Fable 3. Have I played Fable 3? I don't think I have. I think did I play? I played Fable 2. Yeah, Fable 3 is the one I believe where you're the king and you have to manage your kingdom or something like that, if I remember correctly. So I don't think I've played Fable 3. I played Fable 2, and that was really good. Fable 3 I've heard was actually pretty good. The problem with the Fable games, I mean, the Fable games are fantastic as action RPGs. Like, they're really good. They usually have really good mechanics. They do have some like repetitive quests too, like, hey, go talk to the freaking talking doors and all that stuff and do what they want and do this stuff and all that, just to collect some extra loot, if you want to. But the nice thing about them, though, is there is usually a pretty good story. It's just that almost every Fable game, that story towards the end just kind of falls off the rails. It's like good story up to about the last quarter maybe of the game, and then all of a sudden it just kind of just ends in some convoluted little way, kind of. I don't want to spoil anything necessarily, but it's usually, sometimes I found for Fable 2 that the ending was a bit of a letdown, and I've heard for Fable 3 that the ending also was a bit of a letdown because there was a lot of decisions that it felt like along the way that it felt like there was no good decision to be made, that kind of thing. Halo Reach, very good Halo game, very, very good Halo game. I enjoyed it. It's closer to Halo 3 than it is to Halo 4 or anything else. Halo 3 is probably, I'd say for fans of Halo 3 was like the pinnacle, the gold standard probably of Halo. I mean, Halo Combat Evolved, the first one, was always going to be something in the hearts and minds of gamers. Halo 2 was good mechanically, but the story just kind of ended in a crappy fashion, right? The story wasn't that great in Halo 2. Halo 3 was just fantastic. Like, the story was really good. The gameplay was very good. The engine itself was so good that they actually set ODST in Halo 3 realm there too. And Halo 3 ODST was, I mean, in my opinion, the best of the series. But if you're looking for, I mean, yeah, I would say that's the best of the series. But a lot of people don't count that because it doesn't have Master Chief in it. And since he's the main guy. And the same thing with Halo Reach too. It gets kind of discounted, I think, by a lot of people because Master Chief isn't in it. But I think if I were to rank the Halo games, ODST is the top on my list. I would say Halo 3 is second, and Halo Reach, I think, is a very close third to that. And that's not to belittle Halo Reach. Halo Reach was a lot of fun. Halo Reach the story was really good. The only, the negative in my mind to the story in that was that it had a bad ending. I felt, by bad I mean it had a sad yet inevitable ending to it. You knew from the get-go, if you know anything about the Halo universe, you kind of knew how it was going to end because there was only really one way for it to end. But when it does finally present you with that ending, I felt very unsatisfied by it. Like, I knew it was coming, I knew it had to be that way, but I still felt like I was kind of cheated a little bit. I kind of felt like there should have been some sort of twist or some sort of something that would have not been so easily predictable, I guess, is what I was kind of hoping for with Halo Reach. But again, most of this, it spends all of its time being really good. It's just that last mission, after the credits. It's that last, 20 minutes, I'd say, and then the mission after the credits that just kind of makes it really, gives me a bad taste in my mouth as far as the ending goes for that. And sometimes the ending can ruin it for an entire game. I don't think it does in this case, but I do, it is one of those things where I'm like, I pause every time I think, do I want to go back and play this again? Or do I really want to subject myself to really good storytelling and then the crappy ending? And usually the answer is no. However, you've asked me, do I want to play Halo 3 ODST again? Yes, most definitely. I love that game. Love it. Absolutely love it. My best of the most favorite of the Halo series myself. And actually, I went and purchased a DLC for that, for the Master Chief Collection. So I intend to, since I've got everything hooked up finally again, I intend to actually get back to playing that on the YouTubes at some point. I just need to figure out when I can do that. And since I'm on vacation now, staycation really, my end of the year stuff. So I have a bunch of time to do recordings now. So the floodgates may be opening pretty soon, especially now that I've got two systems that can record. The floodgates may open. I'm hoping that they will, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I keep saying we'll see. That's my go-to right there. But I can't promise anything due to it A, being holidays, and B, me being, me being snake bit this month as far as trying to get things accomplished. Anywho, what else on here? Hydro Thunder. I saw a video of that. I think it was was it Hydro Thunder? I think it was Hydro Thunder that I saw a video of on World of Long Plays, I think it was. And it's a game I'd never heard of, and it actually intrigued me a little bit. It looked kind of interesting. I might just pick that up, the 360 version of that, just to, cause I don't think they have an Xbox One version of that. I might just pick that up just to play it myself, because I didn't watch the whole video. Long plays, by the way, are no commentary, and usually it's the entire playthrough of the game. Sometimes in one video, but sometimes they break it up. And in this case, I think it was the entire video was like 6 hours long or something like that. So I didn't make it too far, unfortunately. But that's something I need to look into. I'm pretty sure that's the one I saw, but I'll have to look at the videos of it to see if that was the case or not. Kane and Lynch 2, the infamous Kane and Lynch 2, the thing that nobody apparently likes ever. I've never played it, so I can't tell you what it was like. But it was also that thing that kind of made you. It was the thing that caused a lot of consternation around the internets about collusion between publishers and the gaming press and all that stuff. So that was, I don't want to say that was the straw that broke the camel's back, but it certainly is one that is brought up quite often. And that's all I'm going to say on that. I don't want to go any deeper than that as far as that's concerned. I just lost my tab here for some reason. Okay, here we go. Motocross Madness, I don't know. Ms. Pac-Man, last time I played that was in the arcade. It was fun. Peggle Portal, still have not played Portal at all. And I don't know, is Portal still alive? Is that like the special edition of Portal, or was that just the full title of the original Portal game? I don't know. Spelunky, we've heard a lot about Spelunky. Splosion Man and Ticket to Ride, Zuma's Revenge. Yeah, I haven't played any of the other ones, so I couldn't tell you if any of them are any good or not. I've heard things about them. I've heard that Splunky is particularly good, but I have not dug into it myself, so couldn't tell you at all. But yeah, 16 more Xbox 360 games are now available to be played on the Xbox One, particularly if you own them already, or if you want to try to maybe possibly save some dough and buy the 360 version, maybe secondhand or something. Who knows? That might be something that works out for you. Let's see. What else do I have on here? So there was I do have some more like little news tidbits, but I kind of want to talk about the longer thing here. It might be a longer thing. It might not be a longer thing. But you're a gamer, and also Destructoid kind of were quoting Ken Levine, I believe, from who the creator of BioShock, who was on NPR. He was on an episode called On Point, or a segment called On Point, where he was talking about his newest project, and that he was going to be a departure from the linear storytelling of the BioShock series and be a little bit more open world and encourage multiple playthroughs. And the one quote kind of struck out at me a little bit, and I wanted to kind of talk about this a little bit. He says the AAA single player narrative game is starting to disappear, kind of like games like BioShock. There's fewer of them being made. And the real reason is they're very expensive to make, and I think gamers are being pretty loud and clear that if they're going to spend $40, $50, $60, they want an experience that lasts more than 10 to 12 hours. That's a lot to ask somebody to spend. That's the quotes from him that have been published here from Ken Levine. And I read that and I went, not me. I actually kind of still like 10 to 12 hour games. I don't necessarily, well, yeah, I mean, hell, I'd pay $60 for a 12-hour game. I mean, I don't, to me, there's a place for everything, right? Right now, we've got so many open world games. I've got so many games on my back catalog that are just long form RPGs, open world games that are going to take hundreds of hours to complete. And for me, being the old man that I am, and getting slightly older because, well, yeah, it's past midnight, so technically it's my birthday right now. But being the old man that I am, I don't have the kind of time that I used to have to play these games all the way through, to just binge on them. When you're younger, it's easier to binge on them. When you're a college student, it's easier to binge on them. When you get older and you've got work plus just, you get tired just walking from the bed to the to the living room. It's hard to sit down and play something for that long, and play a lot of things for that long, I should say. And I kind of like a mixture of both, right? I like having 10 to 12 hour games as long as I can also still have the open world games, right? It's when there's an imbalance of the two that I start to feel, I don't know, I start to get behind. I start to feel like I'm out of touch, like I can't, like there's no way that I can complete all this stuff. It's when I buy a game, I generally want to complete those games. My Steam library right now is chock full of games that I may never complete. And it's kind of sad, because it used to be that every game you buy was a game you're going to complete. You were going to play the hell out of that game because you couldn't afford anything more. Or it was not easy to find other games. Other games were out of stock. They didn't, you didn't have the digital platforms you have today. Nowadays, there's so many different choices, so many indie games, so many AAA games. They're all within arm's reach. There's sales going on constantly. There's people like myself giving keys away for free on the internet and all that stuff. And it's become rather interesting now, where there's also, because there's so many games that are being aggregated now, you're seeing more of the slice than you would have normally, right? So it's easy to look at games and go, oh, this is just another open world romp, or oh, this is just another RPG, 60-hour RPG, or oh, this is just another pixel art platformer thing. It's easy to say that now and see those patterns now, because all those things are sitting in the same storefront. That they might not have been under the same roof years ago. It would have been harder to find them. And so drawing those comparisons might not have been quite as easy as it is now. And now we're seeing it and we're going, oh my God, no, there's no variety in the games. It's like, well, there is. It's just we're seeing all of them together at once, and you got to go digging for the diamonds in the rough. You know what I mean? It looks like everybody and their grandmother is releasing an open world RPG nowadays. But the reality is, it's probably not any more than it used to be. Let's back up for a second. Genre-wise, it's probably not any more than it used to be. The open world stuff is hot toddy nowadays, because the PC has enough capacity to support it. The engines have gotten a lot better. The engines have matured. The graphics cards are now a staple and not an exception to the rule. And so with that, you're seeing more of these open worlds because, it can be done. And it's a thing that gives a game a lot of longevity. And they really want a lot of longevity. Plus, with the resurgence of DLC and stuff, the open world gives you an ability as a developer to add on to the game in such a way that it's seamless. Instead of having an expansion pack that breaks your immersion, you now have a quote-unquote expansion or DLC that just fits into the current narrative of the world. And just one day it just pops up in the world and you're like, oh, okay, this is more of the same. This is what this all fits. This is all an interconnected thing. It's a machine, another cog in the machine, that kind of thing. So I think that's the perspective that has shifted. I don't think nobody wants to spend $60 for 12 hours of gameplay is really the thing. I think that's more of a symptom than the actual problem, I'd say. I think the actual problem is that there's so many choices that when it comes time to spend your $60, you're probably going to choose a game that gives you 100 hours of gameplay. It's just that you have so much choice now that becomes the thing. That becomes the thing that pops up to the top, the cream of the crop, so to speak. And honestly, you're probably not going to do that. Even then, you're probably not going to buy, $60 game with hundreds of hours of gameplay until you've seen and watched some gameplay on Twitch or YouTube or one of those other things, and seen that it's working fairly well, and that it's going to be on your hardware. It'll survive, that kind of thing, because demos are few and far between anymore, where you can just test to see if your system will even support something. And then, even then, you pull back even further and you go, well, the types of people that are pausing when it comes to spending $60 on something that is less than 100 hours of gameplay are also typically the types of people who only buy one game every once in a while, right? They might buy Skyrim, in January, and then they might not buy a Just Cause 3 until October, say, because they finally got through Skyrim and they're finally done with it, It's the type of people who are more likely to buy something that is on sale just out of mere fact that they didn't get around to it until it had been out for a while, Or you even got a whole class of people who are just patient gamers who are like, you know what? I am not going to spend full price on this thing because I got plenty of things on other things to play, so I'm just gonna wait, and I'll wait until it's $20 on sale or it's 80% off or something. I'll wait for the next Steam sale. So I think the Steam sales too, and the GOG sales and all those things, I think they drive a lot of that, mindset that somebody doesn't want to spend $60 for a 12-hour experience. It's like, well, I don't think that's actually the case. I think it's just a symptom, right? You got all these sales, you got, people are being trained as it is right now to wait. Like, hey, you know what? I'm just going to wait. Especially with the recent crop of AAA games that have come out just utterly broken. I just tried to play Just Cause 3 on my new rig. My GTX 980 water-cooled rig, out the hilts, 24 gigs of RAM, and it's just a beast of a machine. And I started up Just Cause 3, and it won't work. I can't get past the title screen. It just doesn't work. I tried to change the resolution. It started out for some reason in full screen mode at 720p. I don't know why. I don't know why it did that, but it did. And I tried to change the resolution to 1080p, and it just freaks out. It the same way if you accidentally alt tab out of it, it just freaks out. Like it won't. You can't get back into the game at all. You have to actually kill it. It just starts flickering back on and off, and then it sends you back to the desktop again. It's like, it's just, I don't know what's going on with it. And the same thing, you had the Arkham Knight stuff and other games that have come out recently that have just been, like the Mortal Kombats and all that stuff, have just been not working too well. So you have the combination of that too going into people's minds, and they're going, well, you know what? If it's going to be broken anyway, there's no point in paying full price for it. So we'll wait, and then maybe by waiting, we'll also not only will we save some money, but it'll be patched finally. So I think hours is not really the thing that is driving the desire of people to not spend $60. I think it's more of there's been so many recent failures, and there's just so many choices now. I think the indie resurgence or indie, renaissance, whatever you want to call it, has sort of driven us to a point where the AAAs have some real competition on their hands. And I think they're looking at it. I think that's one of the reasons why they keep pushing the open world thing down our throats, because they're like, well, if we can convince you to put hundreds of hours into this, then that'll keep you off the streets and keep you from finding some indie game that you'll really enjoy and playing that instead of playing our game, that kind of thing. So I think that competition is driving that too. And honestly, I still would like to see a lot. I'd like to see some 8-hour games. I'd like to see some 12-hour games. I want to see a variety of games coming out, because I would certainly play them, and I think there's a lot of people who would play them who don't have a whole lot of time on their hands, who can only play casually, just from sheer necessity, sheer life, game life balance. You've heard of work-life balance. Now there's game-life balance. I feel like that's the case, and I feel like if you're going to make something that's 8 to 12 hours, polish that thing up. Just polish it up as good as you can. Make sure that thing is freaking solid. Make sure the story makes sense. You know, pump some money into that. Sell it for $60. You may not get, 10 million sales, but maybe you'll get, 500,000. Maybe you'll get 600,000. It might not be enough it might be just enough to break even, possibly. It may not be enough to bring in a profit, but at the end of the day, it gives you more options. It gives you that IP. That IP continues further on, and you can do stuff with it. And I think it's hard to do story in an open world game. An open world game is mostly dependent on the players. It's dependent on the players making their own fun a lot of times, because a lot of times they just populate the open world with a lot of repetitive stuff. It's very rare that you get something like The Witcher 3 where you've got a lot of time and effort that has gone into all the side quests. And even then, even with all the effort that's gone into the side quests in that game, there's still a few things that are kind of repetitive and nonsense, right? Gwent, for instance. If you don't like Gwent, like me, that's a whole portion of the game that's just wasted to you, right? I think an 8 to 12 hour game, if you're looking for story, and a lot of people are looking for story, is the way to go, right? Because you can tell a story in that amount of time. Trying to shoehorn a story into an open world where the player's doing whatever the hell they want to do, and they're doing it in whatever order they want to do it in, never really works out too well. The Witcher Witcher 3 being the, outlier in that perspective. So I would say it depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to just do something that is mechanically sound, but maybe not narratively so, an open world's probably fine for you. If you're trying to tell a story, open world is going to be mostly a detriment unless you can really pull it off. And by really pull it off, I mean you got to spend 7 years of your life polishing that thing up and just making it the best thing you could ever make. Program it like it's your legacy. Like it's going to be your memoirs. Write it like it's your memoirs, that kind of thing. That's not really that viable as a business thing. I think if you're trying to make money, you really need to have an array of things. Sometimes simpler is better, I think. But that's my take on that. There's, as I said, a place for longer things, but I would like to see a lot more shorter games too. I realize that you can't do a AAA budget for a 12-hour game and not charge $60 for it. I realize that. It's just the nature of everybody's got to eat. If you're an indie dev, though, you certainly can do that. You probably shouldn't necessarily do that. You probably should, charge some more, charge almost as much as the AAAs do. But it's, it's neither here nor there. It comes down to getting that exposure that you need and finding a player base, which is always very difficult. There are players out there who aren't looking for very short games. I don't think there's as many as there are those who want a variety of things. You know, I can't imagine myself going from one 200-hour game to another 200-hour game to another 200-hour game. Like, I would need something in the middle that's like, hey, here's something that's just done and over with. And so many games, even when they're like 12 hours long, so many games just overstay their welcome. You know, they just keep dragging towards the end. It's like Victor Varane was only a 12-hour game, but in all honesty, it could have been an 8-hour game, because that last 4 hours was just a drag, just an absolute drag, like just grindy, repetitive drag. And it's like, yeah, you know, if you're gonna do 12 hours, then make sure that it's compact and it doesn't overstay its welcome. You know, if you're going to do an open world thing, well, it's going to overstay its welcome, because that's just the nature of the beast. So those are my thoughts on that. Don't have much else to add there without repeating myself over and over again, as I've already started to do. I try not to repeat myself. I try to stop that, but it happens. It happens when you don't write anything down and you're just coming from stream of consciousness, that you will end up saying things over and over again and generally annoying people. So my apologies for that, if I've fallen into that trap. But I think that will just about do it for this episode of Cube Ramblings. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, and listening on SoundCloud. I hope you all have a safe and healthy and happy holiday season. Holidays are coming up this week, Christmas and all those things. And I will talk to you folks again just after Christmas on Sunday after that. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you next Sunday.